everybody. I'm gonna hang out as usual until people get in. I hope everything is doing well. Hi, thanks for joining. I'm just gonna hang out for a little bit until people get a chance to come on in. Hopefully you're having a wonderful afternoon. It's very hot here in LA, very, very hot. We are in studio, myself, Amelia, and Nina, and we definitely are trying to keep cool here, but it's smoking. 日本で、日本から、インスタグラムライブに来てくださった方、こんにちは。2週間に1回のインスタグラムライブですが、もし質問があったらぜひ、下の方に書いてください。So this is my bi-weekly Instagram live that I try to hop on and have conversations with everybody. Usually people ask questions, which you're, hi, oh, I recognize you. Hi. So I just try to hop on, answer questions, have discussions, and it's always great to be able to connect with you directly. So I try to do this once every other week. For those who are interested in checking out these videos afterwards, I've been posting them on the studio website. You can find them under current, and if you click on that, you'll see happenings. And if you go under that, you'll see the videos there, and they're on YouTube as well, so you can check them out after the live session. So if you have any questions, feel free to fill it up underneath. You can ask whatever. More than happy to answer. And also there are some questions that people were asking during last live session that I didn't get a chance to reply back to because I ran out of time. So I will be answering those. My laptop is right here. And if there's no questions, I usually like to talk about a topic that has been on my mind or things that are happening and just kind of share with you some stuff. So hopefully you'll enjoy joining in and hopefully you'll feel compelled to chime in because I always love to hear your thoughts as well. Okay, so I see that there's no questions, so I'm going to go right in and answer the first question, and it's from Lauren. Oh, by the way, if you see anybody typing out underneath here with URLs for the studio, oh, thank you so much for joining. It's going to be my studio PR and marketing coordinator, Nina. Her little tag is Crows and Cicadas, so check that out down there. Okay, so the first question is from Lauren, and she writes, do you have any rituals that you do every day? And more specifically, do you have any rituals you do when you're not feeling your best? So thank you for your question, Lauren. I'm sorry I couldn't answer it during live session last time. Hi, Kaz. I'll definitely answer your question. Okay, so Lauren, thank you for writing and asking your question. So I do have a ritual I do every day, and it seems to fluctuate as I continue on my journey, and I try to be as flexible about it as possible. But I do notice that in the core of my practice, I do continue to do similar things in different variations. So it's a combination of meditation, journaling. Thank you for the hearts. Journaling and oh, hold on. Let me pin this real quick so you can see it. Oops, sorry. Hold on a second. Pin. Okay, so journaling, meditation, reading a book to expand my mind or change perspectives or anything that'll help my mind to continue to be more elastic, and some kind of body work. So whether it's yoga, I'm a little bit injured right now, so no yoga right now, but yoga, gardening, anything that helps to bring me into my body. So those four things tend to be the pillars and the building blocks for my base. Once I have done some variation of that, so some days I might be more compelled to do a longer meditation practice, which means something might not be done, like journaling, for example. And I just kind of let my intuition guide me. I try not to stay rigid about it. And a lot of times throughout the day, I might find a need to journal. Maybe I didn't do in the morning, which is when I tend to do my practice and then go into the studio. But sometimes I might journal, throughout the day. So that's the base of what I do. And then when I'm not feeling well, I actually, for me, I tone it back. I don't really do more, but I really listen to what my body needs at that time. Maybe there's times where I really don't feel well, not only physically, but sometimes emotionally or spiritually or whatever it may be. And so let's say I'm not in a mood to do meditation. I don't force it at all. I listen to my body. Sometimes I just need to lie down and really be in that moment and just breathe. And that could be enough for me at that time. So it's when I'm not feeling well, for me, it's about paring it down, simplifying things, really tuning into myself, and seeing what it is that I need at that moment. Lately, I've been in this practice where I've been finding a lot of peace. Oh, good night. Good to see you. But the practice has been about always asking myself anytime I'm feeling overwhelmed or there's a lot happening, I ask myself, what is the most important thing I need to be doing right now? Or what is the most important thing to me? Or what is it that I want to be engaging in right now? So I always ask myself these questions. The first answer that comes up, I don't think too much about it. I just let intuition guide. If something pops up, I do that only and I drop everything else, whether it's thinking about it or actually trying to do multiple things at the same time. I drop it and just do that one thing. And it could be, for example, the other day, I had so many things going on and I was feeling really overwhelmed trying to do it all at one time. And I stopped for a second. I thought, okay, what is the most important thing for me right now? And it literally was, I'm hungry. I need to eat. So I dropped everything. I sat and just enjoyed a meal. And the meal wasn't even that long. I think it was maybe less than 10 minutes. But just getting that time to nourish your body and your mind and your spirit, what it currently needs, helped to fuel me for the rest of the day. And it allowed me to kind of gain my composure again and to not be overwhelmed and think more thoroughly about, okay, what is it that I need to do next and next. So it's about the combination of paring it down, simplifying things, giving yourself the grace and the space to breathe, and then figuring out, okay, what is it that I need to do in order to bring yourself back to equilibrium. And sometimes it takes time, and you just kind of have to feel things through, and it's not always that easy. But those are some of the things that I do. So hopefully that answers your question. Thank you very much. Okay, so next question is from Andy. Hello. And she writes, I am so delighted to hear that you can see auras and energy. Would you dedicate a podcast to speaking about it? So thank you for your question. This was when I was asking about people submitting questions for the podcast that I was doing for a while. Called I and I. And if you're interested in hearing any back episodes, I was only able to release 3 before I had to kind of put it to rest for now. So you can listen to that. It's on the website. But the question of seeing auras and energies, I don't know if I can talk a lot about it because I only have so much time today on Instagram Live. Although if I don't get any questions, maybe I'll just keep talking about it. But I think it really depends on who is looking at the aura and energy. So a lot of times people ask me, how is it that you see auras and energies? What is it like? And what I like to tell people is that there's no one set way of seeing it. Like, for example, some see it from like their third eye, some see it physically in the real world, so they'll see colors and energy as if they're physical objects. Some people sense energies, but it's like they're seeing it, but seeing it from a different part of their consciousness. So there's different levels of seeing it. Not that anything is good or bad or better or worse, but just a different way of experiencing it. For myself in auras and energy, the way that I see it is on multiple levels. So, for example, auras, I see it in colors, but it's not necessarily like how we see. For example, what I'm wearing today, this we would agree is probably like an orangish red. When I see auras, it's not like my physical eye is seeing this red color around someone. It's more a combination of, so I'm looking at the person, I'm sensing that they're a particular color because of the emotion or the feeling or the sense that I'm getting about them. And through my third eye, I'm able to, or not third eye, but like through my mental eye, I guess, I'm able to sense what color that is associating with them. So it's like 2 things are happening at once. And I can close my eyes and usually see better the color of their aura versus like physically looking at them. So a lot of times when I'm doing like aura energy readings, I'll close my eyes and kind of tune into their color. So that's the way that I sense auras. It's not necessarily like sometimes I can see faint colors, but it's not so much in the physical world. As far as energy is concerned, the way that I see it is multiple levels. So actually I can see shapes. If I'm looking into people's soul energies, I can see colors, shapes. I can feel a sense of what is happening on in there. It can be like a feeling, an emotion. A lot of times it's more like a knowing. And the way that I like to describe it is, how do I say it? It's like, okay, so this might be an easier way of understanding. So when we fall in love with someone, or when we feel really close to someone, or we feel like this sudden connection when we meet someone for the first time, it's not just a physical reaction that we have. You know, our heart might be going, we might start getting sweaty, we might blush. You know, these are physical symptoms, but not symptoms, physical things are happening to us. It's not a bad thing. But when we actually start feeling this connection, it's more of this deeper attraction, or we feel that we want to be near them, or something about them is drawing us to them, and it's something that we can't describe in the physical world. We might describe it in words, but that still sometimes isn't enough to give the full depth of what we're experiencing. So with energy reading, it's something similar where I'm tuning into that other person's being, who they are as an individual, and what that means. And I try to describe it, or I try to translate it in a way that is understandable. So, because what is being sensed energy wise is not necessarily one to one, meaning like, I sense love, and so I'll say love as the word. Sometimes it's multiple things happening, and I'm having to condense it into a few words that is more concise. So, I hope that that answers your question a little bit, Andy. If you want me to go into something specific about auras and energies, I'm more than happy to answer them. So feel free to send in your question. Okay, so let me see if there's any other question. Oh, hi, Corey, Genki. Genki, sorry. I'm like scrolling through right now, so please excuse me while I scroll real quick. If you have any questions, feel free to fill them in. More than happy to answer them. Oh, hello from Brazil. Hi, Andy. Oh, did you hear me answer your question? Oh, I see your question, Andy. I mean, sorry, not Andy. Corey, I see your question. Zittai, I'll answer it. Give me a second. Okay, so the next question is from, let me find it. I saw it earlier. Hopefully you're still on. Okay, so Boulderlicious, thank you for your question. So he writes, what do you think about fear? Okay, so oh man, this is kind of a difficult one to answer because there's so many levels, but from what I've understood through reading other people, through my own personal experiences, through reading other people's books on fear and philosophy and all those things. So everything combined, I'm sensing that fear is what is holding us back from realizing our true nature or our true potential as our entire being. What I mean by that is when we have fear, it's almost as if we're putting lids on top of certain things, and it's limiting us of possibilities of what can be beyond that fear. So it's almost like, you know, let's say that we get to a certain point and then the fear, or we start from here, we get to a certain point, there's a fear lid that's put on, and there's so much more beyond this lid, but because we have put it on, we can't push past it. And because fear tends to be related to some other emotions like sorrow or anger or sadness or whatever it may be, loneliness, that we tend to not push up against that fear. But a lot of times if we face it head on and we look at it for what it is, a lot of times that fear, the size of the fear is actually not as big as what we may think it to be. And if we were to start to look at it more not with the emotion, I guess, to approach it, but more in the sense of looking at it as if we're looking at something, anything in our life. You know, for example, things that we find pleasant, we'll look at it head on and it's no big deal. So even with fear, if we can kind of remove our emotion from it and just in the beginning and look at it, it helps to remove the barriers that we might put up against it. But recently I was reading this book. I really recommend it if any of you are interested in kind of like reading about joy and happiness, fear, like these core emotions. There's this book that I'm reading right now by the Dalai Lama and Desmond Tutu called the happiness of joy, or it's on my book list on my FAQ. But it's an amazing book. I'm actually listening to it as a audible right now. But there is this part in it where I felt was just so simple yet moving, and what they talked about was this idea of limiting ourselves and our limits, and how because we have limits we're able to become the full version, or we can release the full potential that we are. And the reason why is because if we don't know our limitations, and if we don't think of our limitation as limits, but we think of it as markers or like benchmarks, then we're able to either figure out another route to go around it, or by knowing our limits, we can really push up against it and be that full potential. If we don't know our limits, or we think of it as something that's negative, then we're never able to really push and be, not push in the sense of we're forcing ourselves, but meaning like we can't grow into our full potential even with limitations. And it's never a negative thing. We all have limitations in our physical bodies, our emotional bodies, and we continue to work with them. But there is a way of approaching it so that limitations help us to move past fears and move past our certain barriers that we put upon ourselves. A lot of people say that if we didn't have fears, that we would be able to evolve into the higher selves that we are meant to be, like our spirit selves. And when I do energy readings, a lot of times it's about allowing the person to see themselves as who they truly are, past the fear, past the negative things that they might have placed upon themselves, but to be able to say, look, yes, we have limitations, yes, we have fears, and we all are working through it, which is fine. It's part of the journey. But if you were to look even past those things, here is what truly awaits your, like this is the real version of your soul, or something like that, I guess. But sorry, so I can go on about fear for a long time because there's so many ways of approaching it. But most important is to face the fear head on. Don't feel that it's something that you need to be emotionally attached to, but more of looking at it objectively, as if you're looking at anything else in your life, good and bad. Seeing if it's something that is really as big of a deal as you think it is. Maybe it's not, maybe it is. If it is, then why? Why is that fear driving you so crazy? Or like, why is it something that you don't want to go up against? And if it is a limitation in your life, then figure out how you can inch yourself closer to that fear and slowly but surely either push that fear aside, or know that it's a limitation in your life and maybe there's another way of approaching it. And let's say you have been going up against it like this, but it's not working. But let's say because of some switch in your mind and you're like, oh, maybe I can go around it like this. And so there's always ways of approaching our limitations. So hopefully that answers your question. Borderlicious, thank you so much for asking. Okay, so now I'm going to be scrolling again for the next question. Thank you so much for all the questions that you've been submitting. I have my laptop here, and Nina and Amelia have been great. They're writing questions for me here, so I'm not going to miss any of them. Just going to take me a little bit of time to scroll through them. Hi, everybody. Thank you so much. Okay, so Corey, I see your question, and it says, can other intuitive people learn how to read energy? Can we train ourselves, I guess? Okay, so like I get this question a lot, and by the way, thank you so much for your hearts. I really appreciate it. I see them coming, and thank you. So short answer, yes. And the reason why is because all of us at the end of the day are spirits and souls, and at the core of it, we are able to tune into the source, meaning that where we all come from, this one source, some people call it God, some people call it source, however you want to describe it, but that core is where we all come from. And so we are all interconnected. And basically, energy reading is tuning into that person's spirit or their core. And since all of us are from this one, at the end of the day, we all are able to tune into each other. Now, based on, and I can go into this as like a whole nother topic, but based on, you know, how many times you've been to the earth and how many journeys you've had and how many soul reincarnations, yada yada, all this stuff, some people are a little bit more aware than others because it's just part of different journeys. Not that anybody's better or worse, or we all have our strengths and we all have our weaknesses. And so some people are a little bit more in tune and others just need a little bit more awakening or a little bit more tuning. It's like a tuning fork, or like you're tuning into a radio station. So some people, you just kind of have to find the right knob. So yes, people can read energy. People can do psychic readings. People can do so many things if you allow yourself to quiet your conscious mind, the thinking mind that tends to block things out. And if you're able to tune into more of your subconscious or your deeper, higher consciousness, or more into your deeper soul, you are able to hear and sense things that are beyond just the physical world, if that makes sense. For those who are curious or interested, I would say try to find, well, here, let's see. Let me back up a little bit. If you're interested in developing or figuring out if you have something that is more innate to you, because each one of us has things that we're really more, how do I say it? It's like more easier to tune into than others. So for example, some people are able to hear things beyond just the physical realm. Some people are able to see things beyond the physical realm, like ghosts and things like that. Some people are able to sense things more with the physical body. So if you can tune in to yourself and figure out what you are innately, how you tune into the world, you can see if that is the step to figuring out how you can sense worlds that are beyond just the physical. So if, to give you an example, if you are, let me see here. So for example, if you tend to see the world in a way where colors are really vivid, and when you see like a tree, for example, you can really sense the seasons. And when you smell a flower, it's not just smelling the flower, but you can sense the essence of the life form behind that flower. That when you look at a bird flying from tree to tree and chirping, it brings you so much deep joy that you're just overwhelmed. Like you're so in tune with the rhythm of the earth. And that is your natural nature to be like that. If you were to take that one step further, you want to explore earth energies and nature, and maybe you might have a green thumb, and maybe your specialty is, you know, and maybe like developing herbs and how to tune into your intuition to help people with herbs or with food, but food being the source of healing. So you might become a food healer or Ayurveda. You might want to go into looking at how you can plant certain types of flowers and trees to make a balanced ecology, and you're tuning into Mother Earth's energy. All of those are all part of the same spectrum, not just psychic energy reading as one thing, but all of this is beyond our physical human sense. So if you can tune into what it is that you're really strong at, that you naturally gravitate towards, and a lot of times the hints are in our childhood. So think back to when you were a child and what it is that you were really tuned into, like naturally. Maybe you talk to animals, maybe, and that's your thing. And people thought you're crazy, but you're not, because that's something that you are naturally tuning into. So try to see if there's something there. The other hint to what your strengths and your powers may be is if other people have told you in the past about something that's a little bit unique to you. Like they might say like, oh, why is it that you know such and such? Or like, you're so interesting. This and this about you is like very different from so and so. a lot of times those tips and hints are kind of like trying to poke at you and be like, hey, maybe you need to tap into that part of yourself that is kind of like the gift that you have. So hopefully that answers your question about how you can start kind of tuning into energies. And energies are not just human to human. Again, human to plants, human to earth, human to animals, human to objects, whatever. Human to deceased people, anything. So try to figure out what that is to you, and that'll be, not to say that's the only thing for you, but that's kind of, you're trying to find the gateway, basically the gateway into that other realm. And once you are able to get into the other realm, then things start to expand. You just need to find that connection of how to get yourself from just the human realm to the spiritual unseen realm. There's like, everybody has the jump that they have to make, so try to find what that is for you. Hopefully that helps. Thanks, Corey. Okay, moving on. Thank you for all your little notes here. I'm gonna go through it right now. Thank you for joining. Okay, so next question is from Minnie. Oh, I can't pronounce your handle, but I know who you are. But she writes, hello, I'm relatively new to your feed and your ethereal paintings and words appeal to me. Thank you so much. How would you describe your painting process, or what are the stories and inspiration behind them? Okay, thank you so much for your question. So, the process is quite simple. I try to put aside my own self as much as possible and let through any messages. So if it's words in writing, then I tend to just let that come through when I write. It's like pretty direct. If I'm painting, I try to put aside my own egos and own wants, meaning like, oh, maybe I should paint this because it might sell more, or that did well on Instagram last time, so maybe I should paint that again, or, you know, things that are dictated by our thinking mind. I try to put that aside as much as possible through meditation and other practices. And I really try to approach it as pure as possible, allowing, sometimes it's the physical body and the rhythm and the energy that I'm feeling that come through. Sometimes it's more of a deeper energy or vision that I might be that's happening inside that I might be tuning into. But I try to capture that essence as much as possible. Or if I'm doing energy paintings, which is painting the energies of other people or couples or whatever, then I try to tune into their energy source and paint that and capture what it is that I'm sensing through that reading or channeling. So that's usually the process for painting and writing. The story behind them is, and the inspiration tends to be all from the unseen realm. So I tune into kind of what I was sharing, a little bit a while ago, but the energies of the earth, or people that I meet, or things that are going internally that I might be channeling from, who knows where. But all these things included is kind of what inspires me. And I think what helps is to keep my mind as quiet as possible and to really tune into the spaces in between the thoughts that I might have. So like thought happening, but there'll be quiet moments in between. I try to really tune into that and see if there's something there that I can express in a very creative way. Like my strength, I think, is in colors and shapes for painting and words. I think not so much long words, but like poetry or spoken word and things like that. So that tends to be where I go as far as the pushing out, but that's where inspiration tends to come from. Hopefully that helps. Thank you for your question, and thank you for joining. It's really nice to connect with you. Thank you. Okay, and Crows and Cicadas, again, Nina is on here, including any URLs for everybody, so hopefully you are able to see any URLs that you might want to tune into. Oh, thank you for your comment, Tava. Okay, so next question from Corey. Have you ever tried tarot cards as another intuitive spiritual tool? Yes. So I continue to study other modalities or other spiritual teachings, whether it's numerology, astrology, tarot cards, you name it, I probably have read about it or tried it. I don't use this so much as a tool when I do energy readings because I tend to be able to tune in better. But sometimes, for my own personal exploration or my own understanding of what's happening, because the way that I understand my own self is different from when I read other people, I have to tune in a little bit differently. So sometimes I'll use tarot cards as a way to get a better understanding about specific things, or if there's anything that I need answered, and it's more chronology based or it's more step based, I might approach tarot. So I try to keep my mind open, learn about different modalities, because I think it's important to always know that there's the understanding of ourselves and the world is not just one, it's not just one-sided. You know, there's multiple facets of our lives, and so by gaining knowledge of so many different ways of viewing the world, I feel like all of those included gives us the full picture of our understanding. And that's an ongoing exploration, I think, until the day I croak. So in that sense, yes, I think tarot cards is great. I don't think it's the end all. Like, I don't think that's the only thing. Along with my energy reading, I never tell people like just believe everything and ignore everything else. Like, I think it's important to have a good perspective of everything so that you can choose what makes sense to you and you can bring into the life the things that matter to you at this moment. And if it doesn't, but you still feel connected, it might be for the future self or for your past self. So you can always keep it close by, but implement the things that really hit home for you. Those are the things that you need to be concentrating on right now. And if something is calling out to you, whether it's tarot or something else, I would say definitely go for it. Try to see if there's something there, because usually one thing leads to next, leads to next. So it's all part of a journey. And it might circle you back to certain things. So it's fun. And I would say definitely try it out, Corey, if you've been interested. And there's different kind of tarots too. So angel cards and oracle cards, and you can try all of it. I think they're all meant for different reasons. So check it out. Okay, thanks for joining, and thank you for your questions. Arigato. Oh, you've been trying them lately. Perfect. Okay, good. I'm glad I answered your question, Boulderlicious. Kitty Catch, thank you for your question. How do you push up against your fears? So, let me think about how to answer this in a way that's understandable. Okay. I think the easiest way is, let me give you an example for me. So I've been dealing with anxiety or panic attacks when I was younger. And before, I would be so fearful of having an attack, especially in a public place, or the attacks would be so bad that I wouldn't be able to think straight or do anything and say weird things and just go, bonkers. So I'd be really fearful about it, and I wouldn't do things that would potentially cause that. Now, so the fear is, let's say here, anxiety attack. So I continue to live kind of like a little bit below, where I wouldn't do things to push me towards that fear. I would avoid situations or people or whatever it may be that may cause the anxiety attack. And I was living my life, but it's not to its fullest potential because I'm avoiding it, basically. Like, I'm pretending that it's not there, that I don't want to deal with it. Now, I think in the beginning that's okay, because sometimes if you were to just go straight at your fear, you really could just fall off the edge because you don't know where your limit is. So it's like, I'm going up against my fear, and you fall off the cliff, right? Which is not what you want to do. But what really helps is, as you are living your life, understand that the fear is there and don't fear it. Don't be scared of it, but always keep a mental note like, okay, I know if I do this in my life, I know that it might cause, for me, it would be like anxiety attacks. So I was like, I know if I do that, it'll give me an anxiety attack. Now, what can I do that inches me closer to it if you want that to be a part of your life? Now, if you don't want it, for example, for me, psychological movies cause anxiety attacks. I don't watch it because I don't enjoy it, and there's nothing in it that I really love about it. But some people really love it, like psychological movies, and maybe you're fearful of it, but you want to try to watch it again. So what I do is, what I mean by push up against your fear is that recognize that the fear is there, recognize the symptoms that happen when you go up against that fear, and instead of trying to avoid it by going around somewhere else, try to slowly inch your way towards it. Like, slowly see if it's something that you can maybe get closer to, And at the same time, keep asking yourself, what am I so scared about? What is it that's causing the fear? The way that I've gotten over my anxiety attack is I've realized, one, there are things that I can do that will help me to move past that anxiety. So I've figured out it's a physical reaction. I figured out it's an emotional reaction. I figured out it's a emotional reaction. There's so many things happening. So each one I've broken down and figured out how I can approach it in a way that makes sense to me in that moment. So for physical, it's like breathing techniques. So I've learned how to breathe when I'm not going through attacks so that when it happens, I can just boom, get right there. If it's more of an emotional thing, that I've learned how to work through it, walk myself through it, think through it. So there's different ways of approaching the fear, but I think if it's something you want in your life, then it's a continual acknowledging of it and making sure you're going up against it in a sense of not attacking it, but slowly but surely moving towards it. You move back a little, move towards it a little, back a little, and then you're slowly going towards it. And eventually you'll get to a point where when you're next to it, you're like, okay, I'm not comfortable. I might not be ever comfortable, but I can live with it. It's okay. It's not that bad. And you might find certain things that really help you to be one with the fear. Like actually not enjoy it, but it's like, well, kind of. I've had that experience recently. So I talked about in the last podcast, last Instagram live if you're curious about it. But you actually can move past the fear to a point where it becomes something like euphoric almost, just a little nuts. But so that's kind of one way of approaching it. Hopefully that helps. Okay, I'm going to answer a few more questions, but I have to log off soon. So if I don't get around to answering your questions, please know that I'll be back on 2 weeks from now, and I'll definitely get to them. So hopefully you'll continue to ask questions below, and I'll be answering them. Okay, so let me go through and look at comments. Thank you so much for everybody joining in. Okay, cool, Corey. I hope you find what you're looking for. Okay. Oh, minim yarnism. Minim yarnism. Minim yarnism. I'll have to see that a few times. Thank you for sharing with me how to pronounce it. Ah, okay. Good. I'm glad you like that. All right. So next question is from Lordly Rat. Did I say that right? I hope I did. Lordly Rat. Okay. So the question is, do you actually think that one needs anything at all to be inspired, or it all can come from inside? Oh, really good question. Yes. I don't think inspiration needs to come from outside or like a source or something. It can totally be from internal. And even that is actually, in a sense, inspiration, but not inspiration the way that we might know it. It's more like intuition almost, where if it comes from internal. So yes, I definitely believe that it can be from something inside. Even for me, my inspiration, I'll say inspiration, but it's not always inspiration where I'm like, oh, I'm so inspired. It's more like this internal knowing or sensing that I'm putting into the painting. So absolutely, I am on board with you 100% about that. Thank you for your question. Okay. I'm going to look through comments. Thank you so much for leaving them. John Mayer's Spirit Kill Me and Nothing Will. That was from more. Ooh, I have to check out that song, the John Mayer song. I haven't heard that one before. Maybe I have. I do like John Mayer a lot. I'm gonna check that out. I create minimalism with yarn. Oh, I like that. You're welcome. That's really cool. Okay, anyway, so it looks like I got through everybody's question, which I'm really glad I did. If you do have any more questions, you can feel free to fill them out down here. We will write them in, answer them during the next Instagram Live. Or you can always email the studio at hello@satsukishibuya.com, which Crows and Cicadas has already listed right there. Okay, so before I sign off for today, I have a few announcements, and then I'll have to say goodbye for today. But some of the announcements... Give me a few seconds here. Some of the announcements are, first up is, are any of you familiar with Boss Ladies magazine? Anybody? So it's this amazing magazine based in LA, and it profiles women entrepreneurs who are doing amazing things. And I've had the pleasure of being on issue number 1 when they first launched, and they continue to grow and bring on some amazing people. No, okay, check it out if you're interested in things that entrepreneurs do. Issue number 1, I was able to talk a little bit more deeper about my practice and why I do what I do. And then they have like a little quote on there that I had shared. So anyways, with Boss Ladies Magazine, we're doing a giveaway, 1 ticket giveaway to the workshop that I'll be doing. Give me a second. Good. I'm glad you joined. Okay, so back to what I was saying. So Boss Ladies Magazine is doing a giveaway of 1 ticket for the workshop I'm teaching on September 16th in LA. September 16th. Okay, I'm just making sure. Oh, I'm so glad you read it, Andy. Thank you. So yeah, so if you've been thinking of joining, you've been on the fence, maybe you're, thinking about like, oh, should I, join the workshop? Yes, we have a few seats left, and it would be amazing for you to join us because it's the last workshop I'm going to be teaching for a while. And this one is it's like all the things that I've been implementing into my practice up until this point. I'm just going to be giving it to everybody in the workshop and sharing with you how you can work through yourself in order to be able to be more authentic with the work that you do in the world. There's the link to the workshop if you're interested in catching a seat. But so through Boss Ladies, we're going to be doing this giveaway. So if you're interested in possibly trying to get a ticket for free, check it out. They have it on their website, Boss Ladies. I think it's bossladiesmagazine.com or bossladies.com, but check it out. And yeah, so speaking of that workshop, so this workshop I'm so passionate about it. I'm really excited about it, as you can tell, because it's not a usual workshop I teach. I tend to teach watercolor workshops and painting, but this one, I wanted to share with people what it is that drives. Oh, me too. I hope we see each other soon too, Corey. What drives the work that I do, and how people can really tap into that core of who they are and how they can bring that into an idea, into the world. It doesn't have to be for business. It can be for you as an individual and how you present yourself to the world, like how you can be fully yourself in different situations and be confident because you know who you are. It's like, how do you tap into that? So this workshop it sounds like it's a branding business workshop, but it's really not. It's about finding your authentic self, what that looks like, and developing that in a way so that you can confidently put yourself out in the world and let others know who you are. And I don't know, I think that's so wonderful because I love it when people are able to be so in tune with who they are as individuals that they can just talk about it in any setting, and you get a sense of them as their soul. Now, if you are interested more about what that means or what the workshop is about, there's a really beautiful write-up that Yes She Can did recently. They interviewed me and they talked a little bit more. They did a nice write-up about what the workshop is about. And I'm not good at explaining it, but if you want a more in-depth okay, good. I'm trying. But she wrote such a beautifully written interview that I hope if you want to get a full idea of what the workshop is about, the essence, go check out that interview because that is like pure, yeah, right there, the feature. That is purely what the workshop is about. Better than I can even explain it. It's my own workshop. So check it out. I'm so thankful that she did the write-up for the workshop. Again, few seats available, and there's going to be some amazing sponsors, meaning that great food, great drinks. You get a tote bag that I'm going to be painting specifically for workshop participants. You get like this Muji notebook and pen and this worksheet that talks about in detail how to go through the steps. I mean, I feel like I'm just like everything is for the students, and I think it's so worth it. And on top of all of this, not to say that that is not enough. I mean, I think all of that's great. But we're going to have Ted of Poketo. If you're not sure of who Poketo is, check them out. They're amazing. But Poketo founder Ted is going to be coming and is a guest speaker at the workshop. And we're going to be it's going to be real laid back. where we're going to be having conversations. I'll be asking questions, and then the participants can also ask questions themselves about, how to bring your authentic voice into a business. Or what I love about Ted and Angie of Poketo is that you can sense that these people live their life the way that they run their business, which is really rare, I think, in our day and age, to have those things come together in such a beautiful way. So come to the workshop if you want to meet Ted in person and kind of pick his brain, because this is like the perfect time, and he's been so generous with his time. So he'll be here at the workshop. I think it's going to be like a 45-minute time period. So it's a good time to find out more about that. No, so unfortunately, I've been thinking about online workshops, and I know a lot of people have been asking about it, and at this time I don't have any plans on doing anything online, unfortunately, just because after this workshop and taking a break, I'll be focusing my attention to more art creation and energy readings, and so it's going to be a little bit of a break from workshops, but maybe if I come back to it, I'll think about online workshops. So that's kind of a reason why also I'm telling people, like, if you want to come to the workshop, if you can find a way to come, please come, because it's going to be an intimate setting, only a few seats available, and I think it's going to be so good. It's an all-day event, so I think it's going to be so worth it. Sorry, I'm super excited about it. So, and we've been planning so much for this. I mean, so much. I think you'll really love it. So if you've been thinking about it, please come. I'd love to meet you. Okay, last but not least, the newsletter is coming out, our monthly newsletter, where I write a little special note, only available to newsletter subscribers, about ways of thinking, ways of being, some spiritual thought, or whatever's catching my attention at the time is in the newsletter, along with happenings of what's going on in the studio. People on the newsletter are always first to know about new artwork that's available for sale, events that are happening, whatever it may be. You are the first to know, and we don't spam you, and I usually only send out a newsletter once a month. So if you're interested, you can sign up right there, newsletter sign up. There's the URL. Anyways, that's all I have to share for today. But thank you so much for joining. I always appreciate your time. I appreciate your questions. I love being able to kind of talk back and forth with you, hear your thoughts. Again, I'll be back on 2 weeks from now, and it's been Thursdays, so I'll be back on 2 Thursdays from now. So hopefully you join. If you've missed this or you want to repeat watch this, I'm going to be creating a video for it, and it'll be on the website and also on our YouTube channel, so check that out. Otherwise, have a wonderful rest of the week and weekend. I know fall is in the air, and it's time for change, and so when change happens, make sure you stay grounded, carry the light inside you, and just breathe, because change is always good, and there's always something waiting beyond the change. So oh, thank you so much. I'm so glad you joined. Thank you. So anyways, I'm wishing you all well. I'm looking forward to seeing you again soon. Have a wonderful rest of your week. Okay, take care. Bye.